Welcome, everybody, to this episode of Forgiven. I am Pastor Logan, your host, and today we are going to be continuing our series through serving. And today we have another special guest, Benjamin Paddock, who's a longtime member of Bethel, pretty much a lifer. Young adult in our church, serves in pretty much every area possible. There's a lot that he does, not enough that I can, too much that I can name here. And so we're going to talk to him about why he likes serving or doesn't like serving and what he's gained from it and learned from it and how the Lord has moved in his life. And I just want to say a huge thank you to everybody who has shared and listened over the last couple of weeks. I don't like to brag, and I'm not saying this to be braggy, but we got over 100 listens in 2 weeks. And that's just on the podcast platforms alone. That doesn't include our YouTube videos, on our Bethel Brandon's website and stuff. We host all of our podcasts and everything there as well. So thank you all so much for sharing it and just listening and everything. It means that God wants us to keep doing it, right? I've always kind of said to myself, as long as God keeps glorifying people through this, I'm going to keep doing it. And the more people that listen, the more fired up it just makes me and Pastor Mike want to do bigger and better things. So thank you for that. So yeah, let's just get right on into the episode. So I have with me Benjamin Paddock. Yeah, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do.
Hi, well, thank you. I'm Benjamin Paddock. Thanks for having me on here. Yeah, I'm 18, I guess. I've been at Bethel for 18 years. I've gone through elementary school and high school at Vincent Massey High School.
Amen, brother.
Woo!
Amen.
And yeah, I am now in Brandon for a couple months here, and then I don't know. Next up for me is YWAM in February.
Yeah, I was gonna touch on the YWAM situation. I was gonna ask you some questions about that later because I have a feeling your time serving here sort of helped introduce you into that world, right? I think. Right? Through working and serving and everything here, you just found a deeper appreciation and God maybe led you that way? Or did it just miraculously happen in a dream that God was like, here you go, Ben, here's where you're going to go?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, as a kid, I guess I was shy as a kid, which people don't believe. You also don't believe. We were saying before, you said I was a huge extrovert. But yeah, as a kid, I was shy. And then I slowly got into serving in different things throughout the church. But from a young age, I sort of felt called to YWAM and some aspects of ministry for sure. So that's kind of just in the last year, YWAM's kind of been affirmed as a calling for this next season, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely serving throughout the church has prepared me for things like that, prepared me for just everything in the church, communicating with people and, yeah, doing different things.
I've known you quite a while, but never actually worked with you, we'll say. I've known you at camp and a couple things. I've always just been been in your area. And I just got to say, and maybe I just remember one time I was working at camp and you were with the devoted team, you were traveling, and you were the one doing the memory verses, and you somehow made the kids do a rap.
I am a rapper. I don't know if you know this.
I didn't know this.
I don't know if you know this, but I am a rapper.
Okay, so we'll have to lay down some tracks after.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they'll be secret.
Yeah, no, we won't. We'll listen.
Yeah.
Someday we'll release the X-Files.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up because a lot of people don't believe me.
Yeah, I believe you.
But I tell them.
And it was good. I'm not much of I don't listen to a ton of rap, or at least then I didn't, but now I do. And I'm
I got you into it.
Kinda. I'll be honest, a little bit.
You're welcome.
Truthfully.
You're welcome.
Because he went up there and it was Matthew 6:33. You had to do this whole little rap about it. And I was first of all, I was man, the guts for I don't know, you must have been 15 at the time.
Yeah.
Or whatever, to go up there and do it in front of all these kids and parents and people that love and respect. I was that takes some guts. But the kids loved it. You had them eating out of the palm of your hands. Wow. They were putty in your hands. I was watching them. And I was man, that's a real skill. And I was and that's somebody who has a servant's heart, who just is willing to get up there and try something, right? I don't know. I've always wondered, were you actually prepared for that? Is that something that you really wanted to do, or was that something that Stephen was Here you go. This
Okay.
would be kind of fun.
Well, just looking at the verse, I'm trying to remember. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well.
Yeah.
I don't remember rapping that at all. And is it something that I just went up there and freestyled? Definitely not.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, that's
Definitely
good.
not. And to be honest, I was probably traveling with some other guys that are actually
Yeah, I don't remember who else was with you. I don't remember.
that could actually lay down a rap to a beat type of thing.
I do remember at junior youth camp.
Okay.
There's that Young and Free song that Lecrae's on.
Oh, This Is Living.
Yeah, This
Is that
Is
what you're
Living.
talking about?
Yeah, one of the other devoted guys went up there and absolutely crushed
Yeah.
that part. And I was like standing there, I'm jumping in the crowd, like having a good time and stuff like that. And I was like, what? I got goosebumps because I was like, man, this guy actually just like slayed that.
Yeah.
It was really good.
Yeah, definitely memory verse type of thing. If you're turning into a song, if you turn it into a rap and just whatever.
Yeah.
Get into it, the kids.
Well, that's how I remembered. That's
Exactly.
why I still
and
remember.
even still me, like Power Weekend, like 6 years ago, I remember we did a rap, Job 5-9, and it's like, it's imprinted in my brain right now a lot.
Absolutely.
For sure. So, yeah.
I just wanted to bring that up and say that like you have this like ability to just like to serve, right? Like some people, we're all called to serve.
Right.
Everybody, it doesn't matter if you're 90 or 9. There is a place for you to serve in your church. But some people have an ability above that or have like just a bit more of a capacity to do more or to reach out and to try more or to just like expand their horizons a little bit. And I see that a lot in you because like you serve in like so many different areas of our church, which I think is incredible, right? Mm-hmm. Like you're one of like our worship team members, both for like youth and for like Sunday mornings. Mm-hmm. But then you also do like, I'm not sure if you do kids ministry stuff anymore, but I'm sure you did for the longest time. And then you also are one of my youth leaders, which is like great. And it's like, I've seen you do that now and it's incredible. And so it's like, even when I was like your age, I was doing like production ministry and I was doing like youth ministry. That was it. Those were the two things that I did. But it just seems like you have like your hand in like every little area, which I think is incredible. And I've wondered, like, how do you balance that? Like, how do you, like, find balance in those, like, areas? How does that, like, because for me, I always found it really hard to switch off. Like, if I was doing slides on a Sunday morning, but then the next, like, later that day I had to be a youth leader, for some reason my brain just couldn't, like, I don't know, I get into those modes. And I don't know.
Yeah, for me, like, my brain, I love to do all the little, like, I love to do so many different things, like, for me, like, if I was on a Sunday and, like, if I was on, like, worship team at the start and then, like, I went and did kids ministry after, like, I've done that before. And it's just, like, jumping from thing to thing is just something that I'm good at, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's something that I really enjoy is being constantly, like, going in a sense and helping.
Yep.
And there's definitely something in the past, like, in the past couple of years, I remember I was very busy a lot of the times. Yeah. I would be, like, sometimes I would be on like a worship team at the start and then I'd go and do a kids ministry after and be like, back then it was really fun, but it was also a lot at times for sure.
Absolutely.
And the last little bit I've been able to step back a little bit from certain spots. Like kids ministry, I've stepped out of a little bit in devoted. Like I was in devoted for 5-6 years. And
for this is a long time.
Yeah. This is my first year not being a part of it. So it's been nice to step back in certain areas and then be able to focus in different, in more like one thing.
Yeah, more concentrated.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And that helps me. And just like, I want to go back to one thing you said, like being able to serve above and beyond in like certain things. Like I'm able to. Some people have like that gift. I just want to comment like, I think everybody has that ability to kind of serve above and beyond in like a way. It's just where it is for each different person. Like for me, it might be in worship, or for me, it might be in kids ministry or youth, whatever that is. I'm able to shine through that because that's kind of a call that God has on my life and a gifting he's given to me. If there's somebody else that doesn't necessarily have that kind of personality or that kind of gifting, I'm sure they, through a different aspect, it's like, oh, that's where they're going to be like, wow, that person shines in that aspect such an incredible way.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Because, and that's sort of what I was saying. It's just there is the spiritual gift of serving as well, which is like, we are all called to serve, And then what differentiates the regular serving, like just showing up and shaking hands, and then actually coming and doing like what you do, where you're shining and you're doing things that you know God's calling you to do. That's that spiritual gift of serving, is doing something knowing that God has given you the gift and ability to do that. So for me, my thing is like kind of doing this kind of stuff, right? Like I love creating, I love making new ideas and coming up with like things like this podcast or some of our YouTube videos, or like even just like creating like fun experiences and all that. Like that's something that God's gifted me with, so I can serve in that area more than somebody who isn't, right? But somebody who isn't, you know, could still come and help. It's just their capacities are a little different. So I'm glad you clarified that for me, because I would have listened back on that and been like, Logan, you're such a, why did you say that? Anyway.
Yeah, I guess like the only other thing about like, how did I balance doing things? It's like, it takes, first of all, like you have to be rooted in your foundation with God and your relationship with God. Because I know at times in my past when like I've drifted off, like, I can get overwhelmed. And like when you're serving in that many ministries, it's kind of like, it's a Monday night for Devoted, and then it's a Thursday night for worship practice, and then it's a Friday night youth, and then it's a Sunday morning thing. It's like, it's a lot, and you don't have to be involved in all that amount of things, right?
Nope.
But for me, like that was something that I was wanting to be a part of.
Absolutely.
And if that's something you're wanting to be a part of and you feel you're called to be a part of that, you have to also be able to find time to rest in God's presence and find time to rest and become recharged, especially depending on like your personality. Like
100%.
Yeah.
So for me, especially my early years in Bible college, my first 2 years, I just said yes to everything.
Yeah.
Like, and I think most people do, because you want to get the most out of your experience.
Yeah.
But it got to a point where in my second year, I was actually put on academic probation for one specific course because I was kind of arrogant and kind of argued with the teacher a lot. But the greater crux of the issue was that I had way too many things going on and I wasn't sleeping well. I'd sleep like 2-3 hours a night, which is like terrible.
That's not good.
No, it's not.
Good.
I'm telling, do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah.
But I was the RA, so I was in charge of the dorms, and that was the 1 year in all of Horizon and all of its history that the residents had to clean their own bathrooms. Normally, they just hire that out.
Okay.
Whatever. We have a custodian that does it. I don't know if she's still there. She's awesome. But the 1 year, they were like trying to cut costs. So they're like, well, the students can do it. And so that's the 1 year I'm RA, and I've cleaned bathrooms. I was a supervisor at Pizza Hut. I know how to clean a bathroom. But some of these like 16 or 17-year-olds coming straight out of high school, no idea what they're doing. Like, so I had to show kids how to do their laundry because they had never done it before. And so it's like you add all of that, and it was just a really stressful time.
Yeah.
And so like, and then I was a youth leader. I was a production manager. I was like doing all these things. I was like, I was the de facto sound guy for everything.
Yeah.
So like, spontaneous worship practice. Knock on my door at 11 p.m. Logan, can you come turn this on? Blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
It's like, and so it's like, I just would say yes.
Right.
And then all my grades suffered and all of these things, and I didn't rest and I didn't recharge. And what ended up hurting was a lot of my relationships with like the people around me, my relationship with God, and like my grades, obviously, because I had to retake a course and all that. Because I was taking on way too much and I didn't take time to recharge. Because if I could have, looking back on it, I could have managed all those things if I had actually like taken a little bit of time to take care of myself. I honestly look back on that and think I could have managed all that time if I just did it properly. But I didn't, and it costed me big time, really, in some really big ways. And so I just want to tell people that are listening that like Benjamin said, like if you want to take on all of those amazing things, and we want you to, make sure that you're taking the time to like actually like recharge, because I mean, even Jesus spent time alone all the time. Like there's so many times in scripture where he just finishes preaching to 5,000 people.
Yeah.
And he goes away and he sits in silence and he goes on his own and he recharges, right? And so everybody's view of recharging will be different, right? Like for me, like I do read my Bible and stuff like that, but when I read the Bible, I end up dissecting it more than I do reading it.
Okay, yeah.
right? Because
So sometimes I'm a lot like that too. Sometimes where it's like
Yeah.
I'll read the Bible and it will turn into like, oh, I see like one little thing and like I want to go reference that everywhere.
Yeah.
And I want to go like look up what that was in Greek.
Exactly.
Like something like that. And almost sometimes when you're reading the Bible, it's hard to get it to be from like actually studying and like hard to recharge and like it's like
Yes.
because you're just trying to learn more.
Exactly.
Whereas like sometimes going to different sources to recharge, such as worship or prayer, like can be.
And so that's what I do.
Yeah.
And it took me a really long time to figure that out. But like, especially when I was in Bible college, right? I'm spending all my time dissecting this book, the
Yeah.
Bible. And so then when I try to read it personally, it would just feel like homework. And so then
Right.
in that season, I had to find a different way to recharge. I still would read the Bible. I would try to force myself to do it. But I found ways I would sit in silence. I'd go for walks and I would just like listen to worship music, or I would listen to other sermons and podcasts and like all these different things to help fill me. So I'm just saying especially, and this is a tangent, but I'm going on it.
Yeah.
For the longest time in North American churches, we made this huge emphasis, read your Bible and pray every day and do this, do that, and it's this
Right.
the regimented thing. And those are important, absolutely. But that is not the one and only way you can connect with God and can recharge and to learn more about his character and his truths about you. That is probably one of the best and most efficient ways to do it,
Yeah.
but it's not the only way. Sitting in silence, fasting, just praying, listening to worship music,
Yeah.
writing poem. Like there's so many other things that we can do to like worship and love God and stuff like that. So if you're listening, just know that if your grandma's always telling you just read 10 chapters of the Bible every day and all that stuff. It's like, if that doesn't work for you, then find something that does. Because it's like, we do need to do those things. Absolutely. You do need to pray your Bible and read it, but that's not the only way.
Yeah.
Sorry. Public service announcement over. But it's just one of those things that's always been burning on my heart is like
Okay.
that idea.
Yeah, I definitely think like reading your Bible and praying, like that's a beautiful framework that
Yes.
takes you into the body of Christ.
Yes.
And then when you come into community, whether you be serving in that community or whether you be just part of the community and not serving in like a technical capacity, but just as part of the body and part of friendships, right?
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful thing because you're coming from knowledge of the word and knowledge of God and letting his spirit and like his love flow through you with people who are like-minded around you in the body of Christ, right?
Exactly.
Which is the beautiful thing about serving in a community is that everyone is kind of serving and then everyone is serving each other in a way that that's what makes the body of Christ so appealing and what it should be. They'll know us by our love, right?
Exactly. And that leads me perfectly into the next question, which I think you answered. Why do you serve?
Why do I serve? I knew I was coming on here for serving. I was like, what am I going to say, bro?
Well, and we just did this episode. We just
Yeah,
did
yeah.
this episode 2 weeks ago with Hannah, but I wanted to.
Good job, Hannah. It was good.
Yeah, Hannah. Shout outs to Hannah. This is a full brag for her. That is the fastest list. Like that is the most listened to podcast yet.
Yo.
Not in terms of the most listens over time, but the quickest ascent to the most listens or whatever.
Okay.
Like it was the fastest growing
Yeah.
podcast.
Hannah's
that we've
like
had.
that.
Yeah, she liked that. But I wanted to do a kind of a mini series on serving. I wanted to interview
Yeah.
different people from our church on why they serve, and I had a feeling that a lot of them would come up with the same answer.
Right.
So that's why I kind of brought you and Hannah on, and I'm gonna try to get some older like generation people to come on and ask like why they serve and stuff. And I'm even gonna try to get like a junior youth or something on too and ask why they serve, because we have all these generations serving, and that's one thing that's why I serve. So I'll ask the question I'll answer my own question while you think about it, because I have a feeling you're still thinking of your answer. The reason that I started serving and stuff was because, I found a home in the church that I had never found before. I was like severely bullied as a kid, like really bad. And so for me, going to church and going to youth group for the first time and being able to laugh, joke around, make all those silly, dumb jokes that I made as a 12-year-old boy,
Nice.
and have people laugh and think that I'm funny and just like and accept me into this like family was incredible. And then I wanted to do that for other people. And so that's what led me to start serving, was just seeing the camaraderie that all the leaders had around me and just everything. That's what brought me in, was this like sense of like community and belonging and family. And So now I try to recreate that for others. That's why I serve. And I serve because we're called to, obviously. Like that's
exactly.
That's the baseline Jesus type answer,
Yeah.
Like we all serve because we're called to, but I think there's something else. Everybody else has another reason why they serve. And for me, it's like I like community and I like to bring others into that.
Yeah. For me, I think like we say we serve because we're called to, which is true. But I think that like when Jesus modeled serving, the things that God sets out for us are not only for like, these are things to check off the box, but he has a purpose for them.
Exactly.
And he has a purpose that there's an actual practical reason for the things that are taught in the Bible that actually bring us to a more full life and a more satisfied life and a more peaceful life and more joyful life by living the way that God has called us and through his Spirit, right? But for me, beyond that, I guess, and in that is same as you. I love the community. I love that by serving each other, you cultivate this community of trust and friendship and of love. And that's just what the church is meant to be seen as.
Yep.
And then I remembered what I was going to say. The other thing is like, I remember the parable of the talents, or like the whatever, the farmer, the landowner. Sorry,
You said three. You went through like.
There's like it's mentioned in like Matthew and Luke, and it's like one mentions like talents and one mentions like gold or something.
Is it the one where they bury it? The one buries it?
Yeah, the one buries it, and the one is given 5, and then the one gives
that's the
3,
parable
right?
of talents, yes.
So for me, I just see it as God has given me giftings and talents in these different areas. And for me, to not use them, I don't want to be the one that took his talents and his gifts and he went and hid them in the sand because he was afraid of what people might think, or he was afraid of losing it or being mocked for him. But I want to be the one that goes out and invests them and then also sees a return on them, whether it be hard, whether it be a tough road, right?
Yeah.
And I don't want to disservice God by taking what he's given me and just trying to keep it to myself.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's like, man, that's a powerful word because, and I'm sure that I've definitely thought that in some respects to myself as well. It's like, especially right now in the last like 2 years of my life, like my skill set is very niche. Like, it's like I have a very niche set of skills when it comes to like ministry. Like I've done kids and junior youth and I've done almost all forms of ministry, but like doing this like new style of like media and online like ministry and stuff like that is a skill that God has given me. Now it's still a skill I'm developing. But I knew like years ago, like God said, Logan, this is what you're going to do. And I didn't believe him. I was like, yeah, right. I'm going to go become a generic youth pastor and just, do
the classic.
I'm just going to, that's literally what I went to Bible college for my first year.
Right.
I went for a youth ministry degree. But then I changed it later because God said, he's like, no. He's like, you're going to do this. He's like, I've given you a specific set of skills and gifts and I want you to use them. And I still sometimes think, I'm like, I don't think I'm the right one for this, but God keeps revealing to me those gifts and abilities. And if it wasn't for the serving that I've done, I would not be where I am. I wouldn't know half of what I know if it wasn't for serving. Because it was through serving that I've met some of my best friends, my mentors, and like just the people that have like developed me into who I am like today. Like it's like if I wasn't serving and I wasn't taking the opportunity to learn from others, I just wouldn't be here. Right? And I think that's something that's so special and unique about the church is that like it's designed that way. Like the church is designed so that people can come in and learn and grow and be taught and be like inspired and empowered and to like go out and do it to another person.
And use their gifts that God has given them. They come here and they're encouraged and like, especially with you, like you said, you want to be a youth pastor and now you've started a podcast and you're running technical stuff. It's like, it's so different from what you may have expected, but God has slowly brought that into your life.
Yeah.
And it's really cool.
Absolutely. And just for those listening too, God does have gifts and something special in store for you.
Yeah.
Like it's like God has made you uniquely gifted. Every single person in the world is uniquely gifted. It's just God maybe hasn't revealed to you how he wants you to use that gift yet. Maybe he has revealed to you and you're just not ready and willing to accept it. Or maybe you're already doing it and you don't know it, but God has like a unique gift for everybody in the church. That's the beauty of like the whole church community. And I'm talking like capital C church, like all the collective community of Christians, not just Bethel or not just Cover Temple or whatever. It's, you know, and Paul talks about it. He says the eye can't say to the foot, I don't need you. It's like, no, we need everybody in the church because Ben has skills that I don't have. Right? I can't go up there and play the piano and do any of that kind of stuff. I can't do any of it. But it's like, but I know that there are things that I can do that Ben can't. There's very few, but so it's just, if you're listening today, don't be discouraged if you haven't found your like specialty or your thing yet. Like just keep trying. Try serving in different areas and see which one you really like. Because I'll be honest, I started out making coffee at my very first church or whatever. When I was in Saskatoon, I was like, you know, I'm going to make coffee real easy. Hated it. Mm-hmm. Didn't like it. I was running away from what God wanted me to do. I was like, you know what? I'm going to show up Sundays a little hour early, make some coffee. Don't really have to talk to anybody. Because I was like, I was introverted and I was like, I don't want to talk to anybody. I just want to come, do my job, and leave. Right? I had a completely different view of what church should have been. And then I quickly learned that was terrible because I was just angry. And so then I started doing youth ministry and evolved and
and I mean,
kind of stuff.
To anybody who's listening, look at that.
Yeah. There you go.
If there's a skill or if there's a passion in your life, you're like, wow, look at Logan. He goes and he does sound. He does podcasts. Or you look at somebody on the worship meeting, like, wow, they play a keyboard or they play guitar or drums. Like, if that's something you're like, that would be really cool to be part of, but, you know, I just don't have that skill right now. Bro, just go talk to them. Go ask them.
Yes.
Because that's kind of what the church is about. It's about empowering people and encouraging them in that.
Yep.
And me specifically, like, for us growing up in the church, it's been easier, especially, like, I'm in such a blessed position to be a PK, a pastor's kid.
I have a question about that.
I saw that. It came to my mind. I was like, but, like, I grew up starting, like, I've been in youth ministry, like, I've been in the youth for, like, nearly 19 years here at Bethel now. But going through that and being, like, a pastor's kid, like, I've been introduced into worship aspects. I've been introduced into youth. And then Pastor Stephen, like, I'm even, like, related to Stephen. Like, I'm in such a blessed position. And I got introduced to Devoted, right? So for me, it was, like, almost really simple to get involved and to get, like, even asked to do things, which is such a great thing for me. I don't actually have to half the time be like the first person to initiate something, which can be hard for someone who's new in a church or someone who even has been in the church for a long time but has never, like, didn't come into the church having the skill of playing an instrument or didn't come into the church having the skill of being a sound person or a PowerPoints person or a camera person. It's like, for them to go and ask is like, it's hard because of our like
humanness.
Yeah, we're just
arrogance.
ashamed to ask for help a lot of the time. But from what I know, all the people that are serving love what they do and would love to help other people learn it.
So, like I said this on the other podcast too. I didn't go to school to be a technical director. I have no formal technical training in anything. Mm-hmm. Right? I'm a pastor. I can read and preach the Bible and I talk to people and I care for people. Does that then eliminate me from doing other things? No, absolutely not. But it was because, like Ben said, I saw a need, but more than that, I went to my church and somebody did ask me, and that's how I kind of started it. But I just saw this beautiful looking like piece of machinery called a soundboard. And I was like, man, that's really cool.
Look at all the lights.
Exactly. This was like a, for any of you sound nerds out there, the board that I learned on was called a Midas Pro 2. This thing is massive. Nice. I mean, I had learned kind of on analog boards, but this is like a big digital console. This thing was massive.
Like 100 channels.
No, okay. I think it was only 32 channels, but it's bigger than an X32 because it like is just one of the first anyway.
Yeah.
It has a mouse. Like it has a trackball mouse built into the board. And it has like two little clicky buttons. It was cool. Okay. But and it's got so many lights and colorful buttons and everything like that. And I was like, that looks really cool, and I want to learn how to use that.
Right.
So then, like, I didn't for the longest time, and then I had a pastor be like, Logan, I kind of see that you like this, because I'd hang around the sound booth, whatever.
Yeah.
And then one of the guys just started showing me how to use it.
Yeah.
He's like, here you go. He's like, look, you can do this, this, and this. Because I had already like learned how to like do gain and whatever. Like I've done sound before, but I'd never touched anything. This thing looks like it's from the Death Star. Like it's like, and I was like, man, this is so cool. And I started learning about like effects and compression and all these different things. And then during rehearsal, they were like, just come to a practice.
Oh yeah.
And then he would just start letting me tweak things, and he was teaching me like listen, and like, you know, he did this thing with me where he made me close my eyes, turn around so that everything would be kind of in reverse.
Yeah.
And then he said, just listen, and he's like, tell me what you hear. And he's like changing things, and I was able to pick up like different sounds or whatever. But it was like Benjamin said, I saw something, and I was like, I want to learn that. And then they taught me that. And now the person that taught me that is one of my best friends. He's my mentor. I talk to him about like everything. He has taught me everything that I know about like technology, like really. And it's like, and it's because I was just a little bold and stepped out and said like, look, I want to learn some of this stuff. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, I'm glad that you said that, because, I'm glad that you said that.
That's the crazy thing. Like, you keep saying serving, and it's so much, and a lot of the time serving seems like a bad thing almost, or like seems like a lot of work, but in essence, like a lot of the time it can just turn into something that you're passionate about.
Yeah.
And it's not like, oh, I'm in the church, I have to go serve, but it's like, oh, now I get to go do what I enjoy, and I get to go be with this community of people that I am friends with and that I have a relationship with. Mm-hmm. And it's not like work, because it's just like, it's fun and it's encouraging and it's building up. Yeah.
So I love that, because for me, when and I'll just say this, if you are serving at a place and you're not happy, find a different place to serve. Like maybe that's just going to a different ministry or like whatever. But if it's starting to feel like work and you have to like force yourself to get out of bed and do it every Sunday, that's not where you're supposed to be. Like serving is something, like Ben and I have said here. It should be fun. It should be exciting. It should be something that you want to do, that you desire to do. Not something you do out of obligation or like fear or whatever, right? That's not what God intended us serving to be. So if you're feeling like that, go and talk to your pastor, go and talk to your ministry leader and say like, look, I'm not having fun in this right now. Maybe you just need a break. Maybe you need to just go and try a different area. I don't know. I can't tell you what the answer is, but you're never going to be able to find out the answer unless you confront the problem. So if you're unhappy in your ministry, go and talk to somebody. Because like that's not good. We're meant to serving is supposed to be fun and exciting and something joyous, not begrudging. So I wanted to sort of ask why do you keep serving? What keeps you motivated to keep serving? Because you obviously have been serving your entire life in the church, and that's just being a pastor's kid, which I think you're one of the first pastor's kids that I have talked to sort of in this type of scenario that have seen it as a blessing. A lot of people that I've talked to have seen it more as like a, curse is too strong of a word, but they see it as more of like I'll say curse, but that's too strong. So I'm surprised. I'm just excited to hear that you've sort of seen it as like a little bit of a blessing, which I think is like really good. So maybe that's what keeps you serving. But like, what keeps you motivated? What keeps you like wanting to serve?
Yeah. I mean, the thing about pastors' kids, I don't know a lot of them. I know some of them. Maybe I know more than I think.
Yeah, who knows?
But maybe it's a stereotype.
Maybe it's a bit of a stereotype. I don't know. That's what I'm curious about.
I don't know. Maybe it's a bit of a stereotype that all pastors' kids want to be rebels. Maybe not.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm not a pastor's kid, so
and what keeps me motivated serving? It's something that I enjoy. For one, a lot of the time, just like doing sound. I love music. I love listening to music, and I love doing the soundboard and messing around doing wonky things, and
Yeah.
like just doing sound. I love doing sound, and playing keyboard is always like, I'm never gonna be the best keyboard player, but it's fun to do. And kids ministry is
Oh,
like, even this Sunday when we had the family service and we were doing like the action worship on the stage, like I haven't done that in a long time. I was like, wow, this is cool. Let me do this again. This was fun.
yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, what keeps me motivated is that it's definitely fun, for sure, and it's something that I don't know.
I get what you mean though. Like
Yeah.
it has to be fun. Like it's the joy and the excitement that keeps you serving. So like and I think that ties back to what you said before. You like being able to do different things. Like you like to be able to
I love doing different things.
Yeah.
Being able to be a part of lots of different things.
Yeah,
for
you like
sure.
that, which is great because I know for a lot of people, what keeps them serving is like community. Obviously, that was a big one for Hannah. She had mentioned that like it's that she found her best friends through serving and in a family and all that stuff. For me, it's kind of just for me, it's more of like just being commanded by God. Like it's like the fear of the Lord almost is a little bit of like that's too strong of a word, but it's the idea that like no, we're called to do this, so like let's do it.
Yeah, the fear and the honor of the Lord. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and also, I mean, just like being a pastor too, it's like if I want others to serve, like if I want volunteers, then I myself have to be willing to like, you know, do it myself, and I'm a big advocate of that. So for those of you listening who are a leader in your respective job, position, whatever, if you're not willing to do it, then it's unfair to ask your followers to do it. That's why like Alexander the Great is one of my favorite leaders in all of history because he was the first one to charge into battle with all of his men. He didn't stand behind like most famous generals and all that stuff. No, he was literally on the front line charging into battle with his soldiers because he was the leader, and his idea was if I can't do this, why should I ask them to do it? And I think Jesus models that exact same thing for us, right?
Yeah.
If Jesus is willing to get down and wash his disciples' feet, then that means then in turn they should be willing to do that. And he models like this servant leadership throughout all of the Bible and stuff. So for me, that's also like the big thing is just like as a leader, if I want people to do it, then I have to be willing to do it myself.
Exactly. I think that what you said about community and then leaders encouraging that is like community genuinely is like almost the biggest thing in serving.
Absolutely.
And I think that is part of the reason why God has called us to serve is because it brings us to a place of relationship with others that's so much deeper when we're serving each other opposed to having just a whole bunch of people who are selfishly trying to take from each other, because that just starts drama and it breaks relationship and causes hurt, and none of that is what God wants for us. It's just not good.
Not at all.
But I definitely think that community is what motivates people, and the question is, how do you, in each of these ministries that are here at the church and that are here in not even just the church but serving in our day-to-day lives, like how do you make that community something that is appealing and something that is a positive experience, right, throughout the church and throughout every place where you're in a group? Whoever's leading it, they have to be encouraging, they have to be like just good leaders, be invested in, be transparent, and be responsible, like all these things, right?
That's like, and that's really good because I think a lot of times we forget that there's serving that we do in our daily life as well. Like it's like, I'm not a husband, but your best bet if I ever get married, I'm going to serve my wife.
Yeah.
You serve your children, you serve your friends, your family. Like it's like serving is not just something we do at church. It's something you do in your daily life as well. So that's a really good reminder. So I have to ask.
Okay.
Why aren't people serving? Why do you think people aren't serving? I meant to ask this question to Hannah, and I kind of slipped.
Right.
But what is a challenge that people face? Like, why aren't people serving?
Yeah. It's tough because, like, people that I know mostly are serving, right?
I know. Yeah, me too.
In a serving, like, area, it's hard to see the people that aren't serving. But why
I get
what holds people back from serving.
Yes, that would be a better way.
So I think people are serving in their ways, but what can hold people back from serving in new ways? What can hold people back from, serving in different capacities? I think, like, one of the things I said before is that they might be scared to get involved. Like, I definitely think that.
Yeah, I think fear is a big one.
Like, for me, joining the worship team, I don't think it would have taken me more time to actually get involved if, like, my dad wouldn't have asked me.
Fair.
Like, to actually look at a Connect card and be like, yeah, I'm new at this church. This is my name. Now I've put my name on that. I'm out there. I'm responsible for whatever this card does. And now I have to be responsible for whatever comes with it.
Okay.
And it's like, but I want to be on the worship team. And then it's like, oh, am I going to be good enough? How is this going to fit? What if they ask me to play and then it just doesn't fit into my schedule at all and just sucks? It's like, it's a commitment for one. And it makes you very vulnerable to put yourself out into a new aspect of serving.
For sure, absolutely.
I
didn't even think about that in terms of like the new person filling out a Connect card.
It's crazy.
As a person who like creates that stuff, it's like I've never thought about, like, to me, oh, it's a card. I'm filling out my name, my phone number, and my email. Like, it's like, but like to me, that's like so simple.
Okay.
Because it's like, for me, it's like, oh no, they might send me an email. If I don't like it, I'll just delete it. Like for me, that anxiety or that like fear or whatever doesn't come into my realm of thinking. Yeah. So I'm glad that you brought that up, because that's just something I've never thought of.
Right.
Like, it's like I just have never thought that somebody new filling out a piece of paper or even an online form would be such a big step for them. To me, it's just like the easiest thing in the world. So that's a good reminder.
Maybe it's like that for some people, because like for me, if I were to go to a new church and I saw, like, I would not be filling out one of those Connect cards.
Really?
To be honest.
That's good
if
to
you're
know,
new
though.
at Bethel, fill one out if you want to.
Or at any church too.
Yeah, at any church. But I don't know, that's like a lot for me. For me, I would want to go I would go talk to like whoever the worship pastor is. But that's a lot easier because I grew up in a church and like I'm so comfortable in any church situation.
Yeah.
But like seeing somebody just like new coming in, if they're not someone who's like, yeah, I'm just going to fill out this card, it's no biggie, they're also probably not also going to feel comfortable just walking up to the worship pastor as a completely new church attendee. So I don't remember.
That's fair. I don't
remember what the question was.
Well, this is why aren't people serving?
Right.
Fear and commitment were the ones that we were talking about.
Yeah, fear and just like, I think that's the biggest thing. It's vulnerable, and I think something great would be if we as the church are better, like, I don't know, introducing people into it, and I don't know.
Oh no, I like
aware
that though.
Of that. Yeah.
Like, don't be afraid to say what you're like.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out in my own head.
Because, I think for me, a lot of why people also are afraid to serve is they don't think they're good enough.
Yeah.
I think that's a big one. At least for me, for a little while, that was like a big thing of like, I'm not good enough to do that. Mm-hmm. Where it's and I think there's a level of good in terms of like certain positions in the church, yes, do require some skill. Absolutely. Like, it's like, without a doubt, like, if you can't play the drums, I'm sorry, then you're not going to be able to serve playing the drums. Like, it's like, that's, I mean, like, I'm sure there's a church that would be willing to teach you and help you and all that stuff. But it's like, I don't, like, if you don't have that skill, then why would you want to serve there? Like, it's like, let's find a different place for you to serve. It's the no but is what I've always referred to it as. So like, it's like, no, sorry, but we have this area over here that would be like really good for you, or like whatever. So it's like, and I'm not saying you can't go and play the drums if you've never played them before. I'm just saying I don't think that's the best area for that person to
start, right?
To start.
If you're really passionate about playing the drums, like, yeah, go learn the drums, and it's just
like, we'll come alongside you.
Exactly.
It's like I'll open up it's like, I can't teach you to play the drums, but you need a place to practice. Guess what?
Yeah.
Here you go. You know, I'll open the sanctuary. Go and bang them all you want.
Like, we're not just gonna throw you into a worship team because that wouldn't be loving.
No, exactly. It would be so unfair to
it's just just unfair to
everybody involved,
basically.
And so it's like, I say that to say, like, I say this every podcast, and I'm gonna keep saying it until people remember. The church is like a football team. There is a position for everyone.
Yes.
Right? Like, and I'm talking American football.
Or a football team. There's also a position for everybody on a football team.
Sure, on a football team, except me. I am terrible.
You can be bench warmer.
There you go.
That's a good thing, though.
Absolutely. I can encourage people. Heck yeah.
Yeah, for real.
Okay.
Let's go.
Side note, okay, like I know you're a huge World Cup fan. We talked about it a little bit. You're just a big soccer fan.
I'm a pretend World Cup fan.
Okay, well, you know you play soccer and you actually at least follow it a little bit.
Yeah, sure, a little bit.
I don't know anything about soccer, but I just know they have the best fans in the world.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Like I saw at an England game people showing up in like full suits of armor.
Yeah.
The guy had chainmail and everything on.
They're like
And I was like, that's
weirdly
insane.
committed to it.
Yeah, like
a lot committed to it.
Yeah, and as like a big like sports fan in terms of like American football,
yeah,
man, some of the chants are so boring. It's just let's go, and they always do the same little like.
Bro, that was my kids' ministry chant. I was rocking that one,
and it can work, but it's like man, like soccer fans, they got some of the craziest chants. Well, they got like drums going and everything like that.
Some of them are like violent too.
Oh yeah. Anyway, tangent over. I was just like
okay. Tangent over.
I don't remember what I was trying to say.
I don't know. You said everybody had a place on the football team.
Yeah, everybody like. So like for me, I'm a bigger guy, so I was an offensive and defensive lineman.
Yeah.
You'd be a great receiver. You can backpedal really well. You'd be good. You'd be a good like halfback or whatever. That's there's a position for everybody, and that's what I'm saying. So in the terms of the church, like if you don't want to be seen and you just want to work behind the scenes, then learn how to operate a soundboard. It's like we'll teach you, or learn how to literally learn how to use the right arrow key on a computer, and guess what? We'll put you to work. Like there is a place for everybody. So if you feel like you don't have the skills or you're discouraged about it, don't be. There is a place for everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's do some fun questions.
Where are we going?
Because we're going to be wrapping up here soon. I have to ask, though, what ministry do you like serving in most? Mine or your dad?
Wait.
I'm just kidding.
I saw that on the paper, and it didn't say yours or my dad's. And then
you know what?
That threw me off. That's funny.
And I'm totally joking.
I know.
Worship or youth, whatever. I know the two blend together. I'm totally kidding. Don't answer that.
Worship and youth, they were both my dad's.
They were
at one point.
Right.
So I mean,
so you could say both, and none of us would be hurt. Listen, it's a joke. Don't answer it.
I know.
But what is one of your favorite memories from serving? Like, what is like a story or a moment, like from your time in Devoted or Kids or Worship or whatever, something that really stood out
Devoted?
to you?
I can give you something from Devoted.
Sure. It can be anything. That's just, I know that's one of the biggest areas you serve.
From serving. I mean, one of my favorite memories just from Devoted is getting locked out of our room at night and sleeping in the showers with a couple of guys. But that wasn't really serving. Moving on.
Hang on. No. You have to finish that story. At least give a little more context. As in, where?
Okay, like Manhattan Beach.
Okay.
We had a room in one of the motels in Center Avenue, and then we were out playing games at night. And then we got back, and one of the guys was not playing games with us. We got back to our room. It was kind of dark outside. Light was on in the room. And we go to open the door, it's locked, right? We're like knocking, we're like, Isaac, open the door. And he didn't, he wasn't opening the door. Now you see, the issue was, it was kind of like quiet. In the room beside us, there was like kids sleeping, so we didn't want to be too loud. So we're like, oh, let's go sleep at the beach. We'll go sleep at the beach. And then we went to the beach, and then we were there for like 30 minutes, and it was cold, so we're like, okay, we're not sleeping here anymore. And we had made a joke about sleeping in the showers.
Yeah.
And then it was like late at night. We're like, we're going to bed. So we had 2 towels and like 1 sweater, and between like the 4 of us guys, and we went to the handicap shower.
I know exactly.
In the public showers at the Manhattan Beach, and we put 2 towels on the floor, and somebody like slept on a bench with their head on the counter, and it was yeah. And then like 3 a.m. one of the guys wakes up, just leaves the shower room. It's raining outside. One of the other guys starts freaking out. He's like, where'd he go? What are we going to do? And then he followed him out. I was like, okay, I'm done with this. Because I was like not sleeping. I could just go to my grandma's cabin. All right?
I was going to say, literally have...
I was like, this is for the boys. I'm staying with them.
Okay, fair enough.
But then I was like, okay, I'm done with this. They left. And then I was walking to my grandma's cabin, and I just saw them run across the road. And then Center was unlocked. So Isaac had woken up at like 1 a.m. and unlocked the door for us.
So I have just a couple of things. A, why didn't you just invite your friends over to your grandma's cabin?
Because they're there.
Like I get the fun enjoyment of like
No,
doing something like that.
I think that like my grandparents were there and my whole family was there, so like we're already sleeping on like the couches and the floors and stuff.
I get you. Okay,
so it didn't really work.
So
there was like 4 of us.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, that's solved.
Yeah.
Why didn't you just go to the office and just they have keys for every they have spare keys for everything.
It's like nighttime and there's
like
nobody
how
there.
Late? Like how late?
Like 11.
'Kay.
Like don't tell Steven, but we were a couple minutes past curfew when we went back.
Oh, he doesn't listen to this, so your secrets. No snitches.
Okay.
Okay, but seriously, I don't think he really would have cared. You're 2 minutes off.
Oh, he would have.
No, he wouldn't.
Yeah,
he would have given you guys a hard time, but he wouldn't have like gotten mad.
Yeah, we didn't want a hard time.
He's really good at that. So
I
just blows my mind that you didn't go to him and be like, "Hey, can you call Aaron to get these?" They have spare keys for all of those like doors, right?
Listen, we're young, okay?
I know.
We just wanted to sleep in the shower, okay?
Listen. It just sounds like you needed an excuse, and I'm for it, okay?
You know.
I get it. I have to listen.
You get it.
Well, you guys were my kids. Maybe the one I was in charge of the guys' dorm for kids camp.
Yeah.
Maybe you weren't on that team, but Devoted was there to help with kids camp. You guys were running it, and you guys were also cabin leaders.
Yeah.
And you guys would stay up till like 4 a.m. every night.
Bro, I wish I could say that wasn't me.
Okay, good. So, but like, so
I'd
for
be
context,
so dead.
okay. So for context, at kids camp, kids are exhausted.
Yeah.
Like 9 o'clock, and they're trying to stay awake. They're like, I'm gonna stay up so late, and then their head hits the pillow, and they are out.
Except for like that one kid that genuinely is gonna stay up all night.
Yeah. But he does that once, and then he's terrible the next day, and then he never does it again. But I just remember all of these like young leaders staying up till like 4 a.m. and I'm in charge of this like dorm.
Yeah.
And so it's like I'd stay up with them till like 11, whatever, and I go to bed because I'm old and whatever. And I just remember one time the smoke detector going off.
Really?
So my best friend Riley was working in the kitchen.
Yeah.
That summer, and boys are always hungry, right? They're growing, whatever. They want snacks, whatever.
Yeah.
So I text Riley at like 10:30, and he's like, "Hey, let us in the kitchen. We want leftovers." He didn't care.
Yeah.
Like Aaron and the camp director didn't care either. It's better us eat it than it get thrown out.
Yeah.
And so like I go, and me and Riley go into the kitchen. We get a bunch of stuff. We had like fried chicken for supper, so we grab a bunch of that, put it in a little container, whatever. And I'm not gonna name who did it because it wasn't very smart, and I don't want to call them out. But somebody decided to not use a nice baking sheet or anything like that, but just put the chicken in the oven on the oven rack. And so all the grease from the chicken dripped to the bottom, and grease doesn't like set on fire; it smokes.
That's funny.
And so then he opens the door to grab his chicken.
Yeah.
And it's a smoke bomb at like 3:30 in the morning. Or something crazy like that, and wakes up the whole dorm. Camp director comes down and is like, "What the heck's going on here?" He's laughing, whatever. It reset everything.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Man," and we're joking around right here, but it's like, let's be real. If you weren't serving, you wouldn't have that memory.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have those crazy memories. Like all the crazy, fun, like ridiculous memories that I have are from serving.
Yeah.
It's like, do you have like a serious one though? Like, do you have like a heartfelt like?
Yeah, like there's a couple ones for sure. Like some like down in Manhattan this summer, I was doing sound, right? Great time. Just like some of the worship services were just so good, and like getting to do sound for them was really. I got to do sound for youth camp, which I thought was just an honor. Really, thought that was really cool.
Wait, weren't you still a youth technically?
I was actually both. Yeah, so it was fun.
That's good.
I got to do both. And then like stuff with Devoted, a lot of them are with worship just because I love worship for sure. And there was one time we were at a camp Kettleston, and we just had a huge ring of like all the leaders and all the campers around the chairs, and we did Real Love, this one song, this part where we do the wave, and it was so cool. We just had to go all the way around the circle across the whole room. We just had this idea, where else? And like youth ministry, serving in youth ministry. I don't know. I got to go to the Regina this year with some of the youth, and just seeing what God did in like the youth and like everybody there it's just really cool to see how God moves through the church and through the body, whether that be in youth ministry, kids ministry, or like in worship services and speaking like when I'm doing sound. Like, yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So it's like, and serving is just, if you're doing it properly and your heart's really in it, it should be fun and exciting. And
Yeah, definitely.
you have like all these like great memories. And Hannah and I talked about this a lot. It's hard. Serving is also hard. It has its challenges for sure. Like it can be a little grueling sometimes, right? Especially with the level of stuff that you were doing, like with devoted and traveling all summer and everything like that.
Oh,
like
yeah.
I'm sure come the last camp, you're just dreading it to be over. Or like you're just dreading the last week. You're like, just get me through this. I want to go home and sleep in my own bed. And
yeah, but it's also rewarding. Like you guys talked about for sure. It's like
one of my favorite memories from serving, and then I'm gonna ask you some really fun ones when we're done. I served as a camp counselor at Camp Arness. So it's this big camp in just north of Winnipeg.
Yep.
I technically was doing it illegally because I was 17. And you're supposed to be 18, but they were like so desperate that like I basically had an adult in the cabin with me that was just some random maintenance guy, but he was like 19, 20 or whatever. And so like that's how they got past the rules or whatever. And I had never been a camp counselor before. I got a call at 4 a.m. from a friend of mine. She was like the worship director, and she'd been praying all night because they desperately needed leaders. Mm-hmm. And she was like, wait, Logan, blah, 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 blah. I was already on a youth trip for our youth group and whatever. I was working full time too. So I'd already taken a week off, but I'm at this camp. Don't know what I'm doing. Don't know anything. I have never done ministry like this before, ever. I had never led a child to Christ. I didn't know what to do.
Right.
And these kids are like inner city kids from like Winnipeg. They're all in foster care. They're all like broken and like just really like real heartbroken kids because they find out their parents don't want them or like whatever.
Yeah.
And this memory is just ingrained in my brain as like one of the most stressful moments of my life, but one of the most like rewarding ever. I'm on Lake Winnipeg. Lake Winnipeg's ginormous. If you've ever been there, it's so big you can't see the other side. It's like the ocean. No, like seriously.
Okay.
I'm standing on the shore and you don't see land anywhere. Just horizon of blue.
Yeah.
And it was kind of windy, grainy, like gloomy, not grainy. They're like, Logan, you need to lead canoeing today. I was like, yeah, I've totally done lots of canoeing and can totally help out.
You didn't even
I have done canoeing, but I was not qualified to teach people how to canoe.
You were just a yes man.
I was it was do it or we can't do the skill.
Okay.
And so I was like, well, I guess I'll teach them how to canoe.
I guess I'll just do the most dangerous one. I'm not gonna do field games. I'm gonna go deal with water.
Well, like there's lifeguards around.
Oh, okay.
Well, and I know the basics of canoeing, and it's they're like 7-year-olds, right? So it's mostly me just doing all the work. They're just going for a canoe ride.
Okay.
So it's like, don't put your paddle in the sand, like, turn on one side to turn. Here's your brake. Like I know the very basics of canoeing.
That's all you need.
And I was like, I did know how to rescue a canoe properly. Oh. Like when you flip over, you can try to like throw it so the water doesn't like get all stuck in it or whatever.
If anybody can actually do that, you're a legend.
Oh yeah, it's hard. Anyway.
Tried for like an hour this year at camp. It was stupid.
So nobody taught me about undercurrent though.
Oh, okay.
So Lake Winnipeg is massive.
Right, because it's huge, you're saying.
It's huge, and I didn't know anything about it. So I'm canoeing along, and I'm kind of getting a little bit from shore, and I'm like canoeing back, but I'm getting sucked out. Like I'm literally getting pulled deeper and deeper into like the middle of the lake. Oh. And I'm not kidding. I seriously think this is how the disciples must have felt when they got caught in those storms, because I'm talking like within 10 minutes, it's thundering and lightning. Oh. It's pouring rain. And I got these like 3 kids in my canoe, a boy and a girl and then another boy. And the girl's scared, right? She's like 6 years old. It's her first time in a canoe. Mm-hmm. And I'm not kidding. These are white capping waves. Like you've been at Manhattan Beach when it's been like storming. Like those waves are massive.
They can get big, yeah.
So we take a rogue wave. Like I'm not prepared for it. We're kind of sitting in the middle and it comes on my broadside. Knocks us clean out of the canoe.
How many kids are in there with you?
3.
Really?
They're all wearing life jackets.
Yeah.
So they get knocked out. This little girl's crying, and I'm like freaking out. Yeah. But I can't show them that I'm freaking out.
Okay.
And so I I go and try to rescue the canoe. I get underwater and I try to like pop it up so I could throw them back in. Can't do it. So I'm like, okay. So I flip it over. There's a bunch of water in it. I get the bail bucket and I'm like, well, I'm gonna bucket out all this water.
Okay.
Get most of it out. Throw the 3 kids in. I get one kid. I was like, here you go. He was like 9, so he was the most mature. And I was like, look, you got to start paddling, because I had showed him how to do it. So he sits in the back. He starts paddling. They had, sometimes canoes have straps on the front so you can pull them.
Yeah.
I take those. I strap it around my shoulders, and I just start swimming because I'm like, what am I gonna do?
Full Captain America.
Literally, I was exhausted when I got back to the I got back, but like an hour later, I was like, I couldn't see land anywhere in front of me. I felt like Life of Pi in the middle of the ocean.
That's crazy.
I get back. Lifeguards are like freaking out. They come and meet me halfway, and I fainted. Like I got on the beach and like completely fell over, and like it was terrible.
Wow.
But I thought, I was like, oh my God, I am not cut out for this. Like I am a terrible counselor. I almost drowned 3 kids.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I mean,
and well, it's not my fault that I had it's just a bad situation.
Yeah.
But at the end of the week, I remember like talking to those kids, and I remember talking to their parents because I was like wanted to be honest with them and tell them what happened. I'm not gonna lie. So I like go up because we had to meet all the parents and all that stuff. And I like go and shake their hands. I'm like, hey, Mr. and Mrs. whatever. I just wanted to let you know that we had a little bit of an accident canoeing, whatever. And the dad just like looks at me, smiles, gives me a big handshake, and he's just like, thank you. He's like, and then the kids were like so excited about it. I thought they were gonna be traumatized.
wow.
Nope, they're screaming and jumping and saying that like it was the best week ever, blah blah blah. The canoeing was awesome. We
That's
got caught
crazy.
in a storm, all this stuff, and it was just like, yeah, it was one of the most stressful moments of my entire life while serving. But God was glorified, like in that, and so
Yeah, that's good.
I say all that to say that's my memory from serving.
That's insane. That's insane.
You know I'm gonna ask this.
No.
You know I'm gonna ask this
No, I don't.
because I ask everybody.
And you're wrong. You're wrong.
I'm wrong.
You're wrong.
I'm wrong. Which team are you, Benjamin Paddock? Are you a sloppy wet kiss or an unforeseen kiss? Now, choose wisely.
Unforeseen.
Really?
Unforeseen. Yeah.
Why? I have to ask why.
Why? Okay.
Because I've explained twice
Do you
now.
want me to start with like why I say?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll disregard your nonsense. Let me pull up my notes.
Oh, he's prepared.
I'm kidding. Well, I mean, I'm not really kidding, but
he's prepared.
I'm a little bit kidding.
No, go for it.
I knew I had to think about it because you're wrong.
Okay. Well,
Okay. I'll go. Okay. So the lyrics are, so heaven meets earth like an unforeseen sloppy wet kiss,
Yes.
right? So like heaven meets earth. Would you say that's like Jesus coming down to earth type of thing?
I would think it could be.
It's kind of a strange.
It is.
lyric.
I think more or less what McMillan's saying is it's the idea that I just thinking God is moving. I don't think it's the idea that heaven specifically is coming down. It's not eschatological. It's not revelation type stuff. I just think it's that moment when you finally meet heaven, when you finally come face to face with God.
Yeah. So the way I see it is we as humans are lost. We as humans aren't searching for God. We aren't loving God. We aren't in a place. We are desiring our flesh. We are chasing after our flesh. So in that sense, an unforeseen kiss is so beautiful because God chose to love us first, even when we weren't looking at him. If we're turned away from God, we're not going to see him coming in for that kiss, for that expression of his love to us, because we're searching after our flesh, we're searching after our desires. But what God comes is he comes, and the song is like, it's talking about how beautiful he is, and like the first verse it says like, how great your affections are for me, and like all these things. And I realized just how beautiful you are. Like you say sexual assault as like an unforeseen kiss, right? And I see that from a human perspective. Obviously,
100%.
If some random person came up and just like gave you a nice kiss,
Right?
Like that's kind of It's a little suspicious.
Yeah, suspicious.
But this is coming from the perspective of God, whose intentions are so pure and so great, and it's saying about how beautiful he is, how great his affections are for us in the purest possible way. So when I see that, I don't see that as necessarily him violating us, but him
I get it.
bringing us back to him, to our true state of that communion with him when he comes in. So
That's really well put.
I know. When
I'm not.
I know. Wait. I was telling
Oh.
people. I was telling people that I was gonna convert this. I was like, this is gonna be an unforeseen kiss podcast from day one.
Wow.
But wait. My only
there's
thing with
more.
like sloppy wet kiss is like, I don't see God's love as like sloppy. I don't see it. I see it more as like a holy and like pristine and almost precise in the way that he loves us so specifically and like in a beautiful way. I don't like sloppy wet kiss. I get the idea of it being like just so beautiful and so
Well, it's supposed to be raw. I think the idea is supposed to be like emotional. And when I think of that, and what I believe the songwriter said,
right,
it's like no matter how many times you go away from God, he meets you with that sloppy wet kiss, just like a dog. Right. You leave your dog for 5 minutes or 5 years, they greet you the same way. So in that moment when heaven meets earth, it doesn't matter how long you've been gone. It's that you're greeted.
It's that same passionate kiss, right? But like
passionate.
Who really enjoys a sloppy wet kiss?
I mean, I just grew up with that. Like that's what I have listened to, and it's just ingrained in my mind. That that's what is sung.
So I remember as like a kid, I think it was in youth minute, like in junior youth over there.
Yeah.
I remember like the first time I heard it, I think I heard sloppy wet kiss. I remember when we come to that lyric, I'll be like, I don't know about this. It's kind of gives me kind of cringy, and like it gives me like the feeling of like, I don't actually know if I have a great aunt or who she is, so I'm like use a great aunt example, but like that great aunt coming and giving you like that wet smoochy kiss. I'm like, yeah, guys, I'll do it because you love me, but I'm not like, yes, I'm down for this sloppy wet kiss.
I get it. I understand.
Listen, when I was in junior youth, I think, and the lyrics switched to unforeseen, I was like, yo, this is so sick.
Okay. You're just all hype about a word change. That's fair.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say you've completely converted
I have one more.
Oh, he's got
banger
more,
point,
ladies
okay?
and gentlemen. I love this.
I have one more.
Yeah, keep going.
I'm just going to say, I'm no kiss expert, but
I'm not either.
If I had to choose between like an unforeseen kiss or like a sloppy wet kiss or like an unforeseen kiss from like the God of the universe who comes down with these perfect intentions and this beautiful way of expressing his love in that way. When I was still a sinner and I was lost in sin and not even looking for him, but he came and unforeseen just came and grabbed onto me, and he brought me back without me making any step, being unforeseen. I'd choose the unforeseen one.
Fair enough.
And then you know the story of like Snow White? She's the one like ate the poison apple,
yes, I know
right?
Snow White.
She like fell asleep.
Yes.
and then she was lost and asleep, and then her Prince Charming came.
Okay.
And this dude comes up and just gives her a kiss. And she comes back awake.
Okay.
She comes alive. She was dead, but now she's alive after an unforeseen, because she's sleeping, right? She can't see him kissing him. Yep. But he came with the right intentions, not weird ideas, but he came with these beautiful intentions of bringing her back to life.
Okay.
To a life that's full and where they can spend it together.
Absolutely. So
happily ever after.
Okay. My only, you haven't fully converted me, but you definitely am but like, I definitely have a way greater respect for when you talk about how God's love is intentional.
Yeah.
And that's like really good. My only thing is you talk about how God's love is, and it's more of it's semantics at this point because it doesn't truthfully matter. We both understand the idea that God's love is so great, whether it comes in a sloppy wet kiss or an unforeseen kiss, whatever. My only rebuttal to that is you make it seem that a sloppy wet kiss can't be what's the word, like detailed or like prepared,
right,
or like intentional.
Yeah, okay.
That's the one area that I would disagree with your argument that you find a hole in, is you say that an unforeseen kiss is intentional when a sloppy wet kiss isn't. Well, it's like no, two things can be intentional at the same time. That's the only semantical ethical, well, not ethical, whatever,
Yeah.
logical fallacy.
Anything with an "ol" at the end.
Yeah, there we go. But now this is the last one. Elevation, Hillsong, Maverick,
I don't even know,
Bethel.
man.
Do you have like a specific one? Like, what's your favorite worship song as of late?
I know, like people hate on like lots of different ones.
I don't hate on any of them. I just know
know
which ones I like and don't like.
What's like my favorite song?
Yeah, what's your most listened to song as of late? What's your Spotify
No,
Wrapped?
dude. I'll go to my Spotify Wrapped. I'll tell you my biggest one from 2022.
There you go.
How about that? Which won't be super accurate because it just like measures till like what, October?
Well, my Spotify Wrapped is always super inflated numbers because for the longest time it was used for like work stuff. So like I'll
Okay.
be playing like copyright free music or whatever.
Yeah.
Or like especially when I was streaming a lot at home.
Yeah.
Like for whatever, I would play copyright free music just through Spotify. And so my Spotify Wrapped is always super inflated because it was just like the first 5 songs were some random like chill like EDM artist or something like that I've
Right.
never even heard before.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Our Spotify, our whole family uses it as well.
Right, you
So
guys
it's
are
like, I don't know, like right here, it's like a lot of Phil Wickham, which was really good. That album, like House of the Lord, I listened to a lot, and then Battle Belongs and Hymn of Heaven. Hymn of Heaven's really good by Phil Wickham.
House of the Lord's my
Yeah, I really liked that one too. But like for me, this one actually showed up pretty high. Breakthrough by Red Rocks Worship. Bro,
I know Red Rocks.
Red Rocks Worship, actually, their 2 albums are so good.
Yeah.
They're probably like my 2 favorite worship albums.
That's awesome.
And then, yeah, another Red Rocks, Echo Holy by Red Rocks Worship.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
Red Rocks does some amazing like
Yeah.
like I haven't listened to their albums, but I've watched their like content. Like
Yeah.
their production value is like it's incredible.
Look at this. Number like 60 is How He Loves by David Crowder. I am passionate about this song. And you know how David Crowder, he says unforeseen.
Well, yeah, that's because he's remaking it.
I know.
David Crowder, man. Okay, so let's say Red Rocks, because that's kind of
Red Rock, yeah, shout out Red Rocks. I mean, they don't, yeah.
No, it's just one of those things that I always like to ask people because I don't know for you, but for me, for the longest time, I got into a rut of worship music where it's like I only knew of like Hillsong and like the top 3 bands, and I would just listen to the whatever songs I heard on Sunday morning, and stuff like that. And so those became my like listen to music. But I was like, man, this is kind of boring. I was like, I want some new music.
Yeah.
So then I started like exploring and asking people and stuff. So
Yeah. So yeah, I definitely think Red Rocks, and then like one song that it's like Life Church Worship, but
Yeah,
I Won't
okay.
Move. That's
Oh,
a
okay.
really good song. I know when you guys talked about it last week with Hannah, like I went and had to go listen to all the songs that you guys
yeah,
said after. So
yeah.
people are doing that. Those songs are good.
Yeah, well, Maverick City makes some good music. I just think their songs are way too long.
Yeah, I
They're
mean,
like an average is like 9 minutes.
they're obviously not like a radio.
No,
you can't
exactly.
play it on the radio, but
and that's their whole like shtick is that it's like
spontaneous.
spontaneous and all that. So I get it. It's like,
Yeah, which is cool.
but I'm just a nerd, so I like a better, more produced.
You like produced music? Okay.
I don't get me wrong. I love the spontaneous
Yeah.
stuff, but I don't like listening to that in like during my day. I'd
Okay.
rather be in the moment and have a spontaneous event and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think, yeah. I just looked at my album here, or my playlist too, and I have one spontaneous that I just added. We Just Want to Worship by like Life Worship, spontaneous. Bro, that one's actually really good too.
Yeah, Army of the Lord's been my like
Army of the
go-to.
Lord.
That's the one I've talked about in the last like 3 episodes.
You know, I'm gonna have to go listen to it.
It's Jen Ledger. She's the drummer and singer from Skillet. She does her own music and
I was
stuff.
talking to
now.
my mom, and she said she brought up you talking about Skillet, so we listened to Skillet, and then I even played like Monster by
Yeah!
Skillet. I feel like a monster. I
Yeah,
was
it's
like,
awesome. Like I don't listen to that music that much anymore. They have
Yeah,
some
no.
really good like cool songs. But like when I was in youth group, that's what was popular.
Yeah.
Like 10 years ago, that oh my god, 10 years. Oh, I feel old. 10 years ago I was 15. Sheesh.
You're old, dude.
Oh man. Yeah, 10 years ago when I was at like Calvary Temple Youth and stuff like that, that's what we listened to. 1,000-Foot Crutch, like Skillet, like all like we didn't have all these like the sort of like pop Christian thing wasn't really a thing yet. You didn't have a ton of like you had the Capital Kings and like Britt Nicole.
Capital Kings, bro.
I love Capital Kings still to this day.
Yeah.
But like we didn't that stuff was still very new, so we didn't listen to it a lot.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until in the last like I'll say like 6 years that the Christian worship music really like exploded in terms of like they added a bunch of different genres and
Yeah.
people exploded.
And now we have like Dove Awards and stuff. Like,
yeah. Anyway, we could listen. We might have to have you on to talk about music in general because we don't have enough time to keep talking about it because I could sit here and talk about worship music forever.
Yeah.
That's gonna do it for this episode. Thank you so much, Benjamin, for coming on and sharing your heart about serving and just what you've learned from it and everything. I think this episode is gonna be really, really good. And I just want to say again, thank you to all the Forgiven listeners. Please share the episode around. Let's keep it growing. And let's just let more people become empowered and inspired. And just like share it around. Leave us a review on Apple and Spotify.
Yeah.
Give us 5 stars. Give us 1 star. I genuinely read the reviews, not to boost my own ego, but if you think you have something to improve or you want the show to be better, I want to know how I can better serve you. So please leave us a review. And finally, you can email us with any questions at forgiven@bethelbrandon.ca or reach out on Facebook, Instagram. We technically have a Bethel Brandon Twitter, but nobody ever.
What do you actually?
Yeah, it just auto updates randomly when we
Nice.
do our Sunday live streams. So if you follow us on Twitter, you can reach out there. It'll take me a while to get there. But yeah, please let us know what you think. And thank you all for listening. God bless. We'll see you next time.
Woo.
Now I gotta cut out your little.
Why? That was fire.
Listen.